Lev Parnas, of course, is still out there talking. By all indications, he's going to remain out there talking. And he is talking about connections he knows of to people like Cipollone, to people like Lindsey Graham. Did anyone in your reporting suggest to you that the opposition to calling witnesses on the part of the Republicans was about more than protecting just one Donald Trump?
We don't have any indication other than the fact that the president didn't want there to be witnesses and the Republicans went along with it. And that's all that we know. I saw those comments tonight from Lev Parnas. Look, Lev Parnas is someone who's been indicted and needs to show that he has a story to tell. There have been a lot of folks like that in the Trump story who have come forward to become the sort of truth tellers of the moment. It remains to be seen what information he has and what that means to the fuller picture. What we do know, and probably the most significant thing about this, besides the fact that Trump was telling Bolton what to do, was that Pat Cipollone was in the room for this meeting. He witnessed it. And obviously, he was the lead lawyer for the president in impeachment. Democrats tonight on Capitol Hill, some that I spoke with, making noise about Cipollone's role. Was it unethical for him to have served as a lawyer while he was also a witness? Can they raise ethical questions about that? Can they make bar complaints to the D.C. bar about his role here? Did he make any statements, or going back and examining everything that he said during the impeachment trial to see whether this new fact lines up with what his statements were and whether any of them were false?
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.